Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning. It's here. It's finally arrived. First day of the week, or last day of the week, depending on what your perspective is. How's it going this morning? Good to see everybody here. Let's just say some quick good mornings. Steph Hetrick, good to see you. You were the first one here. Looks like way back up there. I don't know what time that was, but I want to say good morning. Leslie, good to see you. And once again, Leslie, thank you for your support of me and this show. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Patch, good to see you, brother. It's Sunday. Do you know where your president is? I do. Let's see. Teresa, good to see you. Good morning. Glad that your granddaughter got her book and she's liking it. Thanks for your support with that, by the way. Teresa ordered the Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare for her granddaughter's birthday. So, and yes, it's time for coffee. Good morning. My first sip. Although I will admit that I was awake several hours ago and up having coffee already. So, my little girl and I were just sitting out on the sofa watching something in the morning. Nice chill morning around here. Let's see. Let's see who else we got. Barry, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. Susie Q, glad to see you as well. And Carmen, nice to see you. Great. Glad that you made it to the live show today. Thank you very much. And as everybody knows, I think, and let me just re-announce here, this is Scotty Roberts. You're watching really kind of a branch of the Intrepid radio program, but it's Sunday is the name of the program for Sunday mornings. This is not on my official Odyssey radio network, and so we're just broadcasting live to the stream this morning, and that's why you don't see all the little ads and stuff all up everywhere. Different program for doing this. So, so welcome to my very informal Monday show, as opposed to what we do the rest of the week. Let's see, Susie Q, Matt Finn, good to see you, brother. And Bernard, nice to see you as well. Bernard says, tell me straight, last year was 10 years ago. Bam, on 9 card. But do your way if you got time. Let's see, I'm not sure what you mean. I think you mean something about drawing a card, Bernard, but I'm not sure what you mean. Do you want me to explain a card for you? Oh, do a 10 card. A 10 card. 10 cards are pretty involved. They take about an hour to do, Bernard, but I'll probably do 1 to 3 card readings today and for people when we get there. So, but yes, Bernard, I can do a card for you today, maybe 3. Let's see, Delaney, I see that you have entered the room. Good to see you this morning. And so far, how has everybody's weekend been so far? You're halfway through it. Well, probably technically you're more than halfway through it. The way I always saw it was a weekend day is no good if you have to go to work in the morning. So Friday night was always good because you didn't have to go to work tomorrow. Saturday was perfect because you could do whatever you want. And you didn't have to go to work tomorrow morning. But usually, of course, on Sunday, depending on the kind of schedule you have, boy, my hair's sticking up weird today when I look at it in the camera. I got this weird patch right there because I'm going bald and it's coming on. And I got one patch of thick hair left right there in the front, and the rest is thin. And it's really odd looking. So I don't know. I asked my doc. I said, why am I losing my hair all of a sudden at age 59? And so, well, it's just standard male pattern baldness. And I said, shouldn't I have started experiencing that a long time ago? So I was just curious. They have me on so many medications these days that you start to wonder, is it my medications that are, am I going bald because I'm taking too many meds or something? And I'm not too weird about that kind of stuff. I get tired of taking meds. I get tired of having to remember to take them every day. You'd think it would be rote by now, but there's some. I'm supposed to take a bunch in the morning and a bunch in the evening, and then shots and stuff like that. And so I'm so sick of being on meds. That's something I want to look into, is how do you get off meds, having to take meds all the time. And I know everybody's got opinions on that, and everybody has got some kind of special thing you're supposed to do to get off of meds. Well, hopefully, I can get my way to get there. And I'm so tired of it, and it bores me. It wears me down. It's probably not even the words I want to use for it, but it's kind of funny. It's like I've said, when I was younger, we talked about cars and chicks and speed, and now that I'm pushing 60, we talk about physical ailments, medications, and fat. So those are all the things that's how life changes at this point. So I got to spend yesterday most of the day. Well, you figure when you got to drive 45 minutes to get somewhere and 45 minutes to get home, and you got to do a little prep time on the front end and unload things on the back end, and then you spend 4 hours somewhere. That's pretty much the bulk of your day. So I went over to a good friend of mine, Dana Walter, who has a little business they call the She Shed, and she being I think it's SEIDH or SIEDH, and that is the Gaelic word is she or she for it's where you get banshee and some of the fairy folk and things like that. She, and so the She Shed, and they had a few psychics and a few card readers and astrologers there yesterday. And so I got to go to read. She invited me to come in and read tarot at this little tiny event they had over in St. Paul. And so I spent the day there, and it wasn't well attended, mostly because I think of their location, maybe trying to get the word out a little better. It was the first nice day in a week of sub-zeros and bitter cold up here, and then it was 36 degrees yesterday, which was like everybody's walking around in shirt sleeves just about yesterday. I went outside and stood in the sun for a while, and it was nice because it feels so good when you jump up almost 40 degrees from frigid cold. It's kind of nice. And so I think people were out doing other things yesterday, so we didn't have as many people as we would have liked to have, but so we got a good chance to sit and talk, catch up. This is one of my old friends for darn near 30 years. And I know her from the Minnesota Renaissance Festival and a few other friends. And so we had a good time yesterday. And I don't know where I was, what I was going on about with this, but that's where my mind's taking me. So let's see. Anybody saying anything amazing here? Jimmy Collins, good to see you. Glad you're here, brother. Pa's the name. Nice to see you, Pa. And you have Lyme chronic. It takes more meds than food. Isn't it weird? I mean, it's great that we have these medications that help sustain life and help maintain things and treat things. I wish there were meds we could take that cured something, Take this medication for 3 weeks, 2 tablets in the morning, 1 tablet before bed for 3 weeks, and you'll be totally cured. Wouldn't that be nice? Pharmaceuticals wouldn't make much money. So, as you can see on Sunday morning too, I usually jump in here without a whole lot on my mind as far as I have an agenda about what we want to talk about, because mostly we do this on Sunday mornings so we can read a few cards and we can interact live here with you in the chat room and so on, which we don't get to do during the shows during the week. Let me ask you, though, those of you who are here, and most of you I see, I'm familiar with you. You're here. Many of you are good friends. You've been here for a long time. What are you thinking of the shows we're doing? We've gone from doing some pretty serious religious historical stuff, comparing Gnosticism with ancient Christianity, looking at that, asking why do you believe the things you say you believe, and all of that kind of thing. Yeah, Patch, I'll get to you. You never ask, so I just happen to see that. So we'll do one for you, Patch. And so, um, and then I've jumped into doing a lot of shows on psychological issues, you know, heroism and relationships, child raising. And how many of you out there have kids, by the way? I know that there's a few of you that are my age group. I happen to have kids because it's my second batch of kids. My wife and I were married. I was remarried, and now 12 years ago. Most of you know Rainey. You get to see her every now and then. She walks in here. She might yet this morning. And um, so, how many of you have kids at home? Small kids. Now, there might be some of you who are grandparents and raise your kids' kids. Um, that counts too, I guess, if you've got little kids at home. So Delaney's got an 11-year-old son. I got a 10-year-old son and a 19-year-old son, Delaney. So I know of where you're coming from. Having a boy, I have a couple of them. Let's see. Oh, Matt, Friday night's misadventures with the drunk tank. Hard being the sober guy in the room. Yeah. Jimmy was a little hammered when I got there. JV Johnson, and he everybody calls him and knows him by JV, and I've known him as Jimmy since I was doing work with him, 10, 11, 12 years ago. But Jimmy was, I think, quite in the bag, or as we say, in his cups, when I got there at 10 p.m. my time, 11 p.m. out there. And so the show was fun. And folks, for those of you who don't know, I do a little show. We try to do it. We'd like to do it every Friday, but there's not always time, and we have other commitments. But Jim Johnson, who works with, they've got the show Beyond Reality. He and Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters, and Jason's been gone for a while because they're in production with Ghost Nation, and so he and Jason Hawes have done that show for a few years now, and it's really well syndicated. And Jimmy Johnson used to own, I think he still does, at least one or two of them, but he used to own 5 radio stations, terrestrial stations in upstate New York. He bought into Taps Para magazine with Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson, and Jim Johnson then became the publisher of Taps Para magazine. And it was back in 2009 that Jason and Grant had approached me to come on as the editor-in-chief of the magazine. And so I worked with Jimmy really closely for a couple of years there. And so that's how I know Jimmy, in case you guys didn't know that. So we go way back. And we had our escapades, Jim and I, and Jason and Grant. And so we hailed back to those every now and then. But when we'd go do events, there were nights where, when you got there early, a couple of days early, and you spend a couple of nights getting ready, you go up to the Stanley Hotel, and Jason and Grant each had a villa there, and they had another villa that was rented for the whole crew, the TV show and stuff. And so we'd go hang, and we would have dinners together, and we would drink together. And so Matt, just to let you know, there's a story that Jason and I have regaled a couple of times back when he was not away doing production, and he was on Beyond Reality Radio, where all I'll tell you is sock puppets in the ceiling fan. So there you go. We were drinking a little bit, and it was a drinking game, and we wanted to see if the sock puppet, if he could be thrown up in between the blades as the blades were spinning. And we eventually lost the sock puppet. His guts were spread over the entire room. So there you go. Let's see. What is Teresa saying? If who remembers Matt? Matt, thanks, Teresa. So on and so forth. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Who owes you a shirt? Jimmy? Matt? Jimmy Johnson? I think he's made it private. So it got out of control too. Well, I'm not sure what you're on to there. Chase, good to see you, by the way. It's great to see you live, by the way. Thanks for being here. Sheldon, nice to see you too. You're a single full-time dad of 2 kids, 6 and 8. Sheldon, I give you kudos. I was a single full-time sole custodial dad of my 3 kids. And that was back in I was divorced in 2000. And well, we were separated in 1999 and 2000, it kind of back and forth there. And then finally divorced in 2001. And my twin daughters were 9 at the time it all started, 10 by the time it was done. And my little boy was just born. He was born in 2001 in January. And I was awarded sole custody of all my kids. And my little son got to stay with his mom for a little bit more. And over the next year and a half, gradually came over to me to where he was living with me full time. So, Sheldon, I'm right there with you. I understand what that's like. So I had 3 kids at home, sole custodial dad. Their mom came and picked them up usually every other weekend. And some of the spring break things and things like that, and certain holidays. But I got the extreme privilege. And of course, let me put it this way. I think it would be better for my children and now I'm separating myself out of the box and looking back in. I think it's better for kids that parents work out their stuff. Kids need both parents. I don't care what political correctness tells us these days. I don't care about who believes they can be a better parent and so on. Take all of that and push that aside. Kids need moms and dads. That's just simple biology. It's physiology. It's psychology. Kids need their parents. So whenever parents can work out their differences is probably the very best situation. When they can't, parents then need to figure out how they're going to raise their kids the best separately. And when they can't do that is when you have custody battles. And when you have constant problems with one parent raising the kid and the other one creating problems and so on. I was the latter of those. My ex-wife and I had been to divorce court. There were papers filed 3 different times before the final 4th one, which I filed finally. And my wife had, suffice it to say, she had filed for divorce 3 different times. We reconciled 3 different times. The first one was the big one, and then a couple of little ones where the paperwork was filed again, and we never pursued it. And then the 4th time, it was finally, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And truth be told, you look at the details and all of that. There's always details. There's always 2 sides to any story. And I feel like I'm just talking to Sheldon here now. I don't know what your situation was, but any of you out there that have gone through this, kids need both parents. And unless, dad's an axe murderer or mom's a crackhead or something like that, those are obvious situations. There's extremes in any situation, but that parent needs to get their shit together. I don't care what their problems are. They need to get their shit together for their children. And when they can't be together, well, you make that as seamless as possible for your kids. And that's what I kept trying to do. I kept extending olive branches. I wasn't looking for reconciliation with my ex-wife, but I kept extending olive branches. I kept doing things to say, look, there's different forms of reconciliation. One form is we get back together again and we get remarried and we start having sex again and we start doing things together again and raising that's one form of reconciliation. I told my ex-wife at one point, I said, another form of reconciliation. I said, is you and I just need to get along. We need to be friends for the sake of our kids. If we can't be together as married people, well, then we can work together for the good of our children. I said, that is a form of reconciliation. I said, let's find some common ground. And the common ground are these three little kids right here. And it never could click with my ex-wife, though. I got to tell you, there were periods, and a lot of you know, I've told stories before, so I don't have to go through all this again. But I got to tell you, there were so many times where the olive branch was thwarted. There was a time where my ex-wife called me, and she would always call me at like 5 a.m. I've been up praying and meditating, and I want to talk to you about this. Or she'd call me and chew me out or leave a bad message or whatever. And so she called me one morning about 5:30, and I remember this. And I'll tell you this, Rainey and I had just gotten married, and we didn't publicize it. We didn't have a big wedding. I wish I could have done a big wedding for Rainey. She had never been married before, but I had. And we didn't have a lot going for us financially, struggling, starving artist, and she was working at the things she was doing, massage therapy and stuff. And so we just decided, rather than continue to live together in front of my kids, let's do this. And we'll plan a bigger wedding later, which of course we've never done yet. But I plan to do that soon, I hope. I would love to just surprise her with a big ceremony, but I'll keep you all up to date on that. But all that to say, we got married on the back patio, and we had 5 people in attendance. And we didn't put out any big wild announcements, and my wife didn't follow my social media back then anyway. We're talking 2007 when this happened. So you're looking at almost 13 years ago. And so we got married, Rainey and I, in October the 27th. October 27th of 2007. Well, on somewhere right after that, it was within a day or two, my wife called, and my ex-wife called, and she had asked, do you think we could reconcile? What's your feelings on reconciliation? Now, let me give you a little backstory here, is that we were divorced in 2001, so this is 6 years later now. And during that 6 years, I was asked by the judge, what do I want for child support? Because I got all 3 of my kids. And I said, I don't want child support. I said, I don't need her money. I said, to me, that's insult to injury. I said, she's already losing her kids. I said, all I need her is to participate in her kids' lives. I don't want her money. And my attorney at the time said, well, I think you really should. And I said, well, let's not today, because her losing her kids in court, it just crushed her. Now, I'm not saying that she couldn't have seen it coming if she had been wise and smart, because as I like to say, I didn't win my children out of the stalwart nature of my virtue. I won my children because she lost them. And there were a lot of bad things she brought to the table. And I wouldn't talk this way about her if she had ever done anything to repair those things. She never did. And I will tell you this, she was bright, intelligent. She was gorgeous. You would call my ex-wife almost, think cosmopolitan, and you've got my ex-wife. But she was also an alcoholic. Nobody knew that. And when she quit drinking, much to her credit, she became, kind of a dry drunk. There was a dry drunk syndrome. And I think that, and she also had, which got worse and worse and worse over the years, a personality disorder. And you know what? When you meet somebody, it's like that song says that I have played before. It's by a Christian artist, and it was called "There's No Such Thing as Divorce." It was that same guy who wrote the song "Man of the Tombs," Bob Bennett. And he said, there's no such thing as divorce between a father and his son, between a daddy and his daughters. And that was his song and the lyrics. But he starts the song, it says something like, when people fall in love, they never see the day when one will leave leave the other, pack up and move away. And he's singing to his kids. And he says, and know that I have told you that I'm sorry for my part, but there's nothing I can do now but to tell you from my heart, there's no such thing as divorce between a father and his son, between a daddy and his daughters. And this is the song that he sings. And so, what I will say about this is that uh, my ex-wife was constantly, she became the thorn in the side to our family. She did so many, what I would call dastardly, nasty things that parents ought not do when kids are involved. And, and she, uh, I got to leave it there. With that, there's too much information. So I'm trying to tell the story here. And because she did that, I found myself constantly standing up for my kids, defending my kids. The way I saw my life was almost from the time my kids were little kids. I felt that all I did was stand as the man in the gap that was defending my kids from their mom, always protecting my kids from the actions of their mother. And that's the way I felt, even till now. Now, my daughters, of course, as you know, because I've talked about them, they're 28 years old now, my twin daughters. My son is 19. They're all out on their own. They still struggle. My older daughter's doing very well, but they struggle with things about their mom. And so does my son. My son, 19, hasn't spoken to his mom in 3 years. Since he was still under her roof. He chose at one point, he was living with Rainey and me and the kids, and I had sole custody of him, and he chose at, I think it was age 16, wanted to go live with his mom. I want to go see what it's like living with mom. He missed his mom. He missed living there. All of that stuff. And he thought he'd have a lot freer time. Rainey imposed rules on him like a mom should. And Rainey governed with a bit of an iron fist. And it was the good kind. She wanted him kept in line. She had certain expectations of him. These are the things you have to do while you live under this roof. You're in high school and you need to act accordingly to the rules. And of course, she didn't make rules without me being there. We governed together, but she kept things pretty strict for Sam. Especially he messed up a couple of times on things, and rules were kept very strict. But they also had times where they got along absolutely fabulously. And but Sam wanted to be out from under that, and he thought if he goes and lives with his mom, who has no kids at home, that he'd have a much freer lifestyle. And he found out later that didn't really work that way. And he didn't have a good time there, and he got into bigger trouble, and then into trouble, and so on. And now he's an adult. He's living down in North Carolina with my daughters. So all of this to say, as I'm talking about this story, is that my ex-wife really represented for me the person that would do everything she could to make life difficult for our family. And I could never quite understand why. It's like, what's your goal? What is it you want? And she didn't want the kids full time. As a matter of fact, there was one time, I was going to tell you this because this is the story I'm leading up to when she called and asked to reconcile. There was a point in that 6 years where there was so much problem, no accountability on her part, and not to me or to the kids, to me only in trying to get things scheduled, working on logistics, taking care of things with the kids. She's not that she was an irresponsible person. She wasn't. She wasn't a dopey person. She wasn't an idiot. She had a great job. And like I said, cosmopolitan, smart, good looking, all of these things. But at the same time, she had her motives for doing what she was doing, and she thought by hurting our family, she was hurting me, when in reality, she was hurting her children. So this is what I'm getting at, that parents, when you're divorced, if your kids can't see you stay together, your kids need to see you at least work together for their benefit. If they know that their parents love them and put them first place, that's what matters. When you got divorced couples who won't do that and refuse to do that, that's where you run into problems. So during this 6 years, it had gotten so bad with her that I said, you know what? Screw it. And I said to Rainey, I said, you know what I'm doing? I said, I'm going to file for child support. I didn't ask for it 6 years earlier. And I said, you know what? If she is going to be unaccountable for the way she acts and continually try to create problems for our family, I'm going to get her attention by at least going in to file for child support. And which I did. I went in on my own, filed for child support. The judge asked no questions. He didn't go, why'd you wait 6 years? The judge said, okay. And he imposed child support. Well, she tried to come in, my ex-wife, and say she quit her job, which was, I don't know what she was doing, something in I don't even know, personal care of people and stuff like that. And she quit her job so she could show she didn't have any money. And the judge said, that's not going to work here. And he remembered very well the things that he held up as reasons why he took her kids away from her. And so I filed for child support, which I was granted. And I think for 3 kids, I think she was only having to pay like $500 a month, something like that. If it was that, $375 maybe comes to mind. I don't even remember what it was. And so, and the judge made her pay back child support as well. And so, I will say this, my ex-wife had a rich mother who kept her well-funded on things. So, by quitting her job, she was fine. But judge saw through it, awarded the child support. I did that because I said, I have no other recourse. I don't know how to snap my fingers in her face and get her attention that say, hey, you're not doing the right thing by your children. And if I have to take you to court and have the judge take some of your money away, then I will use that as a vehicle to have you understand that you need to be accountable for what you do. And it took me 6 years to get to that place where I finally decided to do that. Well, that's where we get back to the original point in the story where she called me up one morning and asked if I had ever considered reconciliation. And hey, Kay, by the way, Kay is in the room. Nice to see you. And so what I did was Rainey and I got married, as I mentioned, in October of 2007. Well, when I took my ex-wife to court for child support, which was just a few weeks earlier than that, she had 30 days to answer the judge before the judge would impose the child support. She could offer up a protest to it, or what's the word? Not defense. She could dispute it, the decision of the judge, or let it go as is, and it would be imposed in 30 days. Well, she calls me just about, it was 2 days before the order was going to go into motion. And she called me at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, and, hey, how you doing? And she was nice and sweet, which was rare. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And me, I'm a nice guy. I always try to treat her fairly and nicely and always extending the olive branches. Yet she didn't want to have any of that until now she's calling me. Now, she did not know Rainey and I had just gotten married on the back patio of our house, because it was a small thing and we didn't go shouting it from the rooftops. We just did it. We were already together, and everybody who knew us knew we were together for a couple of years at that point. And so my ex-wife certainly didn't know. And she says, she called in that morning and she said, "How would you feel about reconciliation? Have you ever thought about reconciling, you and me?" And I knew exactly what she was going for. And she always played up, the sexual part. It's the way she was. Very sexual person. And so she brought that into it and joking around about sex and, we could do that legally again and all of that and blah, blah, blah. And I said, "You know what?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I think about reconciliation all the time." I said, "I've thought about it over the last 6 years." And I said, "I'm right there with you. I believe we ought to reconcile." "Oh, good," she said. And I said, "But let me clear this up." And as I started to mention earlier, I said, "I think there's more than one form of reconciliation." I said, "You and I don't have to get together again or get married even again to have reconciliation. We need to reconcile for the sake of our kids." I said, "They need to see us reconcile and become friends and work toward one common goal of their good as parents." Because I got to tell you something, folks. When you become a parent, everything else goes out the window. You have made that choice to become a parent. So you are a parent, and there are sacrifices that need to be made. There are things you give up, things you don't do, things you do because you are now a parent, and you are a parent for the rest of your life. Different stages of parenthood, which eventually end up with you relinquishing the kind of parental stuff you would have over a kid, and your kids become your friends. But, in those early stages especially, there's a lot that you do, and you say you are a parent. That's who you are and what you are, and everything else in life is subordinate to that because you made that decision, that cognitive choice to be a parent. And so, when you become a parent, you become a parent. And so I said to my ex-wife, "Yeah, let's reconcile." I said, "But let's look at it this way. We could reconcile to be friends, to do the greater good for our kids and work together for them." And she was kind of like, "Well, I was kind of thinking, maybe we should get back together and so on." And I said, "Well, I was dating Rainey and so on." And I said, "I'm pretty solid in my relationship with Rainey." And I didn't tell her at that point that we had just gotten married. And so, um, I was just kind of, I wasn't playing a game with her. I just thought I just want to see where she's going with this because I'd been here before, by the way, with her folks many times. I got to turn a new leaf, and then it changes when she doesn't get what she wants out of it. And so I said, "Sure, we can reconcile." I said, "Let's think on it." I said, "But how about this?" I said, "Rather than," and then she brought up, "Well, in 2 days, the judge, you can either turn this all off or I can dispute it for the child support." And she said, "Would you be willing to tell the judge you don't want to take child support? And we'll work on this reconciliation thing." And I said, "I tell you what, let's let it go for 6 months as is." I said, "I'll take every penny that comes in and put it into a savings account for the kids." And I said, "And let's work on that reconciliation. And let's see where things go over the next 6 months." And I said, "How about that? Would you agree to that?" She didn't really like that. Well, of course, by the next day, there were problems all over again. She just went back to her normal mode of life, of living and interacting with me because she didn't get what she wanted out of it. And so we did get the child support at that time. So I'm just telling you, and I saw this because of the comments that were. Hey, Vicky, nice to see you. By the way, nice to have you here. Iowa X, haven't seen you for a while. Good to have you back. And good to see you. And some of you guys, you've heard some of this stuff before, so I hope it's not too old hat for you. Rapid, good to see you. Neil, good to see you all the way from Ireland this morning. Rockin' Rhonda, nice to have you here. And anyway, so what we were talking about was just parents who have their kids. I just want to say, hats off to you. if you've got your kids, especially if you're a dad and you have your kids, especially nowadays. Sterling, nice to see you, by the way, Macabre Menace. And um, I already forgot what your name was, and I'm scrolling back through the chat to find you, because you and I haven't talked a lot in here, and I was trying to see who that was, who had the kids at home, the single dad, Sheldon. And so my hats are off to you, Sheldon, for being not a stay-at-home, a sole custodial dad. That's what I was. You may have your own kettle of fish you gotta work for, or contend with, and I get that. So anyway, there you go. And thanks, Matt. Yeah, my thoughts always were on my kids. And it's like I'm reminded of, and I watched this movie with my twin daughters when they were young. Remember the remake of Parent Trap, the Disney movie with Lindsay Lohan playing the twin daughters when she was like 10 or 11 years old. And Dennis Quaid was in that movie as their dad. And so those kids, they grew up separately and they traded places. One went with the mom, one went with the dad. Mom and dad never saw each other again until the kids bump into each other at a big summer camp. And they decide to switch places, if you don't know the story of that. Yeah, poor Lindsay, the way she ended up, Joyce. I mean, she could fix that anytime she wants, but man, she made a rough life for herself after that. And so I'm watching that with my 8-year-old girl now, and I hadn't seen it since I'd watched it. The last time I saw that was with my twin daughters when they were that age, 20 years ago. And probably when the movie first came out, so longer than that. And so there was a line in the movie where there was the hot young sexy woman that was trying to marry him for his money. When it finally came to the moment, she said to him, she said, "It's either them," and she points at the girls, "or me." And Dennis Quaid, the daddy's smiling. She goes, "Make your choice," and he goes, "Them." Just like that. Didn't even argue with it. And she's like, "What?" He goes, "Them. I will always choose my kids over you," he said. And now it's different when you're in a marriage. You have to figure things out differently. But you're right. That was it for me and my kids. It was always them. And I was a starving artist. Anything for a fine artist trying to turn a passion into a living. Ooh, I've spent most of my life doing that. Now, I'm a commercial artist. I could be, and I'm speaking to Chase here, I could be a fine artist if I wanted to. And the only reason I'm not is it wasn't paying my bills. And so I had to turn to commercial art and doing commercial things and design and illustration and stuff like that. So I've always likened myself to, rather than being an artist, I'm an illustrator, I've said. Any tips for making that into a paying career? It's a little tough, and it takes time to get there. That's the problem. It's not going to happen overnight, no matter what you do. But I would say if I was relying on just my fine art nowadays to get by, to make a living, to hopefully make a name for myself, and make that my living that I was focusing on for the rest of my life, I would probably I'd get some work done, and I'd find a gallery that would show my work. And that's really almost the only way you can make that happen. You can go to small diners and cafes and ask if you can hang your artwork up and, put it up for sale. I know in our local hospital here, they have every other month, they have, new installations of art down the hallway from local artists. And some of the stuff is out of this world. There was somebody, and I hope it's still up there. I took a few pictures on my phone, but they had paintings that reminded me of Andrew Wyeth's work, and gorgeous work. And so that's another way. That's a way to get noticed. And that's the thing about being a fine artist. It's being noticed for your work. Maybe another way, would be to Chase, would be to contact publishers and see if you can illustrate books with your fine art. That gets your name known. And then you can, create more work. And it's really the gallery shows that get you known for being a fine artist. You don't always become a household name. Not everybody becomes a Norman Rockwell or, a name that was well known during his lifetime. But it can get you to the place where you're making a really nice living. And there are things I should have done when I was younger that I didn't do because I didn't know to do them at the time. So now I illustrate kids' books and stuff like that. I wouldn't call that my fine art. It's commercial art. It's art. It's painting. But there are ways to even take that and put that into gallery work. I've got somebody who wants me to do a gallery show of all my work from The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, which Teresa just bought for her granddaughter, book I illustrated. And those are nice paintings, but they're illustrations. But I'm going to do a gallery showing of those. And so that's probably the best way to go about it, I'd say. If anybody here in the room has some good ideas for Chase, I think one of the best things you can do is just start. It's getting your work out there. Maybe the best way to do it is to find a rich patron like they used to do in the old days that would support you painting. One of the things I found was that devoting myself to being able to do fine art was always subordinate to having to do the things that put money on the table, to pay for rent, to pay for food, pay for electricity, and what have you. So, it's going to be a bit of a struggle, unless maybe you find that patron. Let me tell you, and if you're not aware of it, Chase, go over to a site called Patreon, Patr, I think it's EON, Patreon.com. And you can put up a video of what you do. You put up samples of your work, and it's a site for artists and people in the arts to be raising money for themselves. And really, that's the key, isn't it? People hate to talk about that, but that's the key. It's great to be famous, but if you're poor and you can't pay your bills, you have nowhere to paint. You have nowhere to sculpt. You have nowhere to do your art, to create your music. So it's always finding the patrons. It's always finding the people who will show your art and buy your art. So that's what I would recommend. Depends on the style of the art, says Neil. He says, my own work is very dark, so it has a very limited audience. Dark age design. Amazingly fourth hit on Google. And by the way, Neil does some great work. And he's right. It's not for everyone. It's almost got that, and pardon me, Neil, if this is not what you're trying to achieve, it's got that same effect as, remember, underground comics over the years. They were off the main beaten path. And so Neil's got a great style of art, and I really like his stuff. He's got a great tarot deck going that is really cool. You got to go see his stuff. Go ahead and post your, Neil, post your website in the chat room so people can go take a look at if you're comfortable with that, if you want people to see it. So anyway, there you go. That's what I would think, Chase, would be the thing to do. And you know what? Let's do some readings. And Chase, if you're not opposed to it, I could do a little reading for you on just a little mini reading for you. You tell me here if you want that done or not. I've got Patch's number 1 on my list today. So we got Patch. We're going to read some cards for Patch. And 2, Chase, I'll do you after Patch. If you want, just let me know. I won't do it unless you give me your permission. Let's get a couple of other people. Does anybody else would like me to do a 1 or 3 card reading for you today? I'm doing. Hey, Audrey, nice to see you. Finally wake up over there on the West Coast. You still at your little Doctor Who event? So let's see. Joyce Marie, I can do you as well. You'll be number 3. Joyce. Marie, I'll put Marie on there too. So there's no Let's see. And Teresa, let's put you on there. There's 4. So let's start off with those 4. Don't give me any more names because I won't see them. I'd have to scroll back through and try to find you. So let's do that. Let's go with those first 4, and we'll see um, where I'm at. Sometimes they can be draining, and sometimes they're just fine. Energy's good. All depends. So let's take a look here now. Where did I put my cards? Oh, I had my cards out yesterday. So Patch, we're going to go ahead and do yours first. I'll do a little 3-card reading for Patch. And so let me get shuffled up here for Patch. And we'll see what the cards have to say. Remember, the message doesn't originate with me. I just read the cards. I interpret the cards. The message is coming from somewhere else. Someone else's source, you can call it. God, your angels, your spirit guides. However you want to look at that. Spirit. I like to say source. That is really a good word to use, I think. All right, Patch, here we go. If you were here, I'd have you cut the deck a couple of times for me. I always do 4 little piles, and then I restack them, doing this on your behalf. And let's see what we end up with here. All right, we're all shuffled up. I hear my wife's voice out there. So my wife is up and around with all the kids now. All right, your first card, Patch. This is the card of your current circumstances, the Emperor. The card of your recent past is going to be the 2 of Wands. And the card of your near future is the World. All right. Now, I know a bit of your circumstances, Patch. I know you've had a rough go just trying to make things work the way you want them to work these days. And so my knowing that can sometimes, when I know a little too much about somebody and what's going on in their life, it can be distracting for me because I try to find the meaning in the cards. So I know you've had some struggles, some things you're trying to get worked out and make work for you. And so let me just read these cards without even that in mind. We'll just read these for what they are. The Emperor. This is who you are right now. This is what's going on in your life. This is your current circumstances. This is all about authority that's played a role in your life. You're in a good position to I don't know, be a power person in whatever you're doing. You're in a great position to do that. It's the resolution of recent conflict. It's having the authority to make things work the way you want them to work. That's what this card is about. There's a moment where someone in a position of authority, now this could be just authority over your circumstances. It could be authority in a company, authority in somewhere. Whatever it might be, and I'm thinking in because I know some of your circumstances, I would say the authority over your life and your situation, that when you're in that position of authority, there are people who are in other positions of authority that can come along and offer help to you. And in any form, the more experienced hand at play, either you or the person in authority over you, or who represents a different kind of authority out there, who comes into your life, they're going to have the power hand, and they've come to help you, and their hand might be more capable than yours to help you do what you're doing, what you need to accomplish. So protecting yourself, your home, your loved ones, if you had any under your wing. So it'd be you and self and home. And that's important. But those in a leadership position have to know how to compromise. So beware being overly dependent on someone else. Beware people who want to be overly dependent on you, dragging you into their situation because they need you there. They need you to be a certain thing. Sometimes you have to be the leader that makes the decision, that pulls away from something. And that's how you were a leader to yourself. An emperor would be, I used to say about this card a long time ago when I was doing readings, I formed very early this kind of line of thinking. I said, the emperor is the person who has to rule for the greater good of their people, their nation. And if it's your case and it's just you, you're the people, you're the nation, and you have to rule for the greater good of Patch. And that sometimes means it looks like, say, when a nation goes to war, and the emperor would have to say, "I've got to send out my armies." Now, the emperor who thinks about his people first will say, "It's unavoidable. I have to go to war, and I'm going to send all these young men into battle to fight our enemies." Now, some of them are not going to return, but I can't not make the decision that's the proper decision to make, just because some people will die in the process. So the emperor has the responsibility of making a decision that he has to be accountable for, that's for the greater good. I may lose some lives, but it's for the greater good of the nation. And so, Patch, you have to take account of what is the greater good for you as your authority. You have to look at what is the greater good. What's going to work better for you? What are some of the sacrifices you have to make in order for the greater good to be played out? And that's the idea. And there might also be somebody who is of a greater authority than you that you need to hail to, that is going to have some language in this, so to speak. So you need to take the initiative. And this might lead you closer to whatever goal you're setting for yourself. Do you have goals? Have you set goals? The emperor sets the goal for the nation. The nation is you. You're the emperor of you. So you have to bear the responsibility of all your actions right now. Everything you do, you have to take accountability for. And you'll be given the opportunity, this card says, to lead in one of life's many roles. And remember those who follow behind you, even if it's just those who learn from how you act. The emperor, as a counterpart to the empress in the deck, stands for all things fatherly. While she's all things motherly, the emperor is all things fatherly. He's structure. He's order. He's authority in your life. And so while moving forward with whatever endeavors you've got your head set to, Patch, this card indicates that assertiveness and rationality is going to take you a much longer way than the opposite of those things. So in your current situation, you're in a place where you have to make decisions. Are you going to be the emperor of your nation? Or are you going to be tossed about and let somebody else rule you? If you're the emperor, you've got to take account, take responsibility, make things move forward, be responsible for the greater good of your nation, which is you, where you are. What's going on there is the question you have to ask yourself. Now, the card of your recent past, it's the two? Yeah, the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands, wands, first of all, is that suit that has to do with your emotions, not necessarily your passions, as I've said before. It's not the relationships and the stuff like that, and love and romance, l'amour. No, this is emotions. These are the things that make you go beyond the facts and the nuts and bolts of life. This is the stuff that is your personal moving ahead on things. These are the things that get you up and going in the morning, the fuel in your coffee cup, so to speak. And it's the research and the development and the constant application of the things that are your skills. It doesn't necessarily mean job skills. It means skills in life that have led you to progress in life are being embodied in this card right now. If you intend to arrive at your intended destination, you have to continue to look ahead and to plan. Now, this is the card of your recent past, meaning this is where you've been. This is the energy that's brought you into the emperor mode. So if you have to constantly plan where you're going, where you're going to be, make your plans, plan your work, then work your plan, then you have the authority as the emperor to impose those laws for your personal nation and be responsible for where you take yourself. And so this is the idea of it might have even been in the past that you've had a good offer for help in whatever your situation is. There might be analysis and development of your ambitions and your goals, and the influence is going to help you get some fulfillment out of this. But it requires reflection, self-awareness that's going to lead you to any kind of success you want to have. And so trust your intuition, but also be open to help from other people that are going to help you. I've always said of this card too, the Two of Wands is a card that says you've got certain things that you've attained, but there's still something missing. And you're constantly on the prowl to find the thing that's going to be the missing puzzle piece. And as I used to say back in my ministry days, we all have a God-shaped vacuum in our hearts that only God can fill to all its recesses. But we keep trying to fill it with other things. That's kind of what this is like. You've got a vacuum that's shaped like the things that you need, the missing puzzle piece. We keep trying to cram things in there that don't really fit the recesses of everything. And so we try something for, we dump it out. Then we stuff something else in there, and then we dump it out. That's what this is about too. It's finding the thing that is the thing that fits the vacuum, the thing that's meant to be there, the missing puzzle piece. And so this is all about being in control of your situation, experiencing the gains in your life on the one hand, and on the other, it brings with it anxiety and the possibility of losing the control that you once had, of never finding the thing that you want to have. And so the dynamism projected through the card doesn't provide clear answers for you. It just says there are maybes that you're working on. Now, this is the card. This is where you were. This is what brought you into the Emperor. So it's kind of saying now maybe you're trying to find ways to settle on those things. Become the Emperor is what it's telling you. You need to be these things. You need to work at filling that gap and that hole. You need to step out from the things that no longer serve you and become the Emperor who says, I have to work for the greater good. So that's where you are. Now, the card of your near future, what you're passing into is the World card. And the world is kind of like, it's the card that says, the world's your oyster. You've got it made. You've got things that you can do. You've got places you're going and stuff you're doing that is going to be how you're recognized. The path that you're on is going to bring you full circle to where you need to be. And it may take a while to realize this, but the journey is going to allow you to accept new responsibilities and new points of view. You've been through a journey, and that journey there's got to be a place where the journey comes to an end, or the search comes to an end, the mission comes to an end, and you realize, okay, I've come full circle now. And the present moment is what you need to live in. And in the near future, you're going to find this. I've got to live in the now, in the present moment. It's the fulfillment of a wish, these long desired goals that are the outcome of all the strategies that you're working on. And if not physically working on, at least mentally, this is where I want to be. You got to find satisfaction. You have to accept the ideas of others to maybe be as equally valid as yours. People who have their input with you. And you have to find your purpose and accomplish it. That is what the World card is about. Same with the dreams you might have. Yeah, you must first be aware of it to make it exist. So you have to clarify your dreams. There's no guarantees for success in anything, but the experience you gain is going to have the potential to fulfill really your goals and your desires. And the world card just simply means satisfaction. It's success at the journey's end. It's fulfillment, rewards, certainty, possible positive outcomes to things that are all directly associated with the presence of this card. And as I've always said about this card too, and these were some of the earlier meanings I gleaned from this in 25 years ago. I remember reading about this, is that people are watching you. You're being watched, whether you know it or not, realize it or not, want it or not. It's not about you being on stage. It's about the fact that the way you handle this situation, your life situation, people will notice. And so the world card also, I said, means it's you're becoming the teacher card. People are going to see how you get yourself through these things, how you are able to make things happen the way they're supposed to, how you are being accountable for yourself. And that teaches then them how to do this and how to accomplish this. So there you go, Patch. You have to be the emperor. It's built on making sure you find the things that fit the puzzle pieces that are missing, staying with your goals, and the world saying you're attaining it. You'll get there if you do these things. Now, with the near future cards like this, we can make them happen or we can totally negate them, depending on our actions and how we do the things the cards recommend we do. So this is saying to you, if you do these things, become that emperor, take the accountability on yourself as the emperor, rule for the greater good of your nation, your personal nation, you eradicate the things that aren't working and take on the things that should, you end up as the world. You end up with the wisdom that you need, the experience you've gained, getting yourself to the place you need to be, so much so that those who look on see how you've done that and they learn from it. So there you go. I hope that that has some meaning for you and in your current situations. And there you go. That was good for you. All right, Chase, you're on deck. Chase, are you still around? Let me just scroll back a little bit. Hey, Christopher Bryden, by the way, you're on your lunch break at Walmart. I've been making a difference since 4 a.m. So I'm glad you caught the show too. Let's see. I was going to see if Chase was still here. I believe Chase is here. Neil's right. One common theme in all tarot readings is the overcoming of fear. It's the concentrating on what's on the other side of fear, as my daughters once told me. Let's see. Chase, there you are. Permission granted. Okay. So here we go, Chase. See, that's all the scrolling I had to do to find that. Here we go. All right. Chase, I'm going to shuffle up for you. And we'll draw some cards for you. That's once. Twice. All for Chase. 3 times a shuffle. If I don't drop them. Boy. Here we go. Chase, if you were here, I'd have you cut the deck. So I will do that on your behalf. Well, come on now. Okay, here we go. All right, Chase, you ready? Here we are. All right, Chase, your first card is the 8 of Cups. This is your current circumstances. This is where you are right now. Then you've got this card of your recent past. It is the 9 of Coins. And your near future? Oh, it's the same card. It's as we just had. It's the world. So we already know what this one means to a certain extent. Let's see how it ties into the rest of the reading here. All right, the Eight of Cups. This is your current circumstances. Now, the Eight of Cups. Cups is that suit of your passions, your relationships. Doesn't usually have much to do with business relationships, although in a broader sense it could apply. This has to do with your personal relationships, romances, things like that. Though it is, no, we don't have to say that this reading is about romance because it's got the cups here, it's got the coins for your recent past, and it's got a major arcana card up in your near future. So I would say this is less to do about relationship, but I'm not positive of that. Let's see where this takes us. So the Eight of Cups, it simply means it shows a guy. In some of the older decks, you see more of the guy. He's actually got his little kit bag packed up over his shoulder, and he's walking away from something. And this is the idea. It's a card of movement, it's motion, it's travel. In your current, it's saying you are moving from one place to another. Now, it could be physical, literal moving, relocation. It could have to do with emotional or spiritual relocation, which is more figurative, metaphoric in a way. But what is really at the core of this is the Eight of Cups is telling you you need to move away from something that no longer serves its purpose for you. It might even be detrimental to remain there because it's no longer something that works for you. And you have to move on with a happy tune saying, I got to go over here, got to go do something else. See ya. And it's your ability to earn money through determination. Hard work will be very necessary in your future. Even though this isn't a card that's wrapped tightly around the material things of life, it's more the position where you are in life emotionally and and passionately and spiritually. And those are the things that can drive sometimes the way we make money, the way our material needs are met. And so your direction has been a little uncertain of late. But your heart tells you you have to keep going. You have to keep looking. You have to keep seeking. And the change that you're seeking, if you find it, could take many different forms. You're going to experience something completely, absolutely new. You're going to be traveling great distances. Again, either metaphoric or physical. You're relocating to some new place. It would be like, and not that I have to illustrate what that means, but living in Minneapolis and moving to Denver. You're relocating body and soul. Or you could just be doing that in your thought life, in your emotional life, in your spiritual life, as you're considering the things you got to move from one thing to another. There's big changes coming, no matter what. You may even already be in the midst of it. And that's why it's showing up in your current. And you have to maintain an open mind through it. Every journey you take is going to yield life-changing results. Everything is for a purpose. Everything is for a reason. And this is where, like I've been talking about so often, it's all about being awake, being aware, being in the now. If you're doing those things and realizing I'm awake and I'm in the moment, I'm in the now, I'm being there, you're going to notice what this is all about, and you're going to keep at the forefront of your mind, even through the crappy parts of it, is that there's a purpose to this. I'm in the now. I can enjoy life as it is and enjoy where this is taking me, even though you might not know right away where it's taking you. There's personal success and accomplishing of goals that lead to great joy when you make this move and have those things in your mind. And so this is some degree of change you're going through right now. And it's happening to your lifestyle. It brings feelings of sometimes a bit of despondency. That may be the thing that's driven you to that. Indifference, avoidance. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to deal with this. And it could indicate a need to give up, to leave something behind, to turn away from something in your current life. And there's always the melancholy that attaches itself to those situations. But you can cheerily pack up your kit bag and walk on the road. If you notice in the card, it doesn't show where he's going because you may not know where you're going. This isn't about where you're going, it's about leaving and moving from where you were because there's something better for you. So that's your current. You're moving either physically or spiritually. Now, in your recent past, you had the Nine of Cups, which is not a bad card. If you see this card, the Nine of Cups, cups is that suit. I'm sorry, coins, not cups. Coins is the suit of your material well-being, and it's got this beautiful woman dressed in her finery. The falcon is sitting on her arm, music playing. She's in her own walled garden, so to speak, and she's got the coin. She's at the 9 of coins, the 10 being the highest before you hit the royal face cards in the suit. And so she's actually in a pretty darn good place, is the idea with this. And this is the same as the 9 of pentacles in the older decks instead of coins. And it's all talking about the things you've experienced were earned by your achievements. You lived a bit of the rewards of your recent projects. And they might not be as obvious as you want them to be, that they were there. And this is the idea that you're going to receive abundantly for the work you've done to bring you there. And again, this doesn't always, with the tarot, it's always a little sneaky sometimes, it seems, because it's like where it can say you're going to reap the rewards of the work you've done. That might not mean it looks like what you think it's going to look like. It could not, it might mean, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to make millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It might just mean you're going to reap the reward in the experience you've gained, things like that. So it's a little sneaky sometimes. So the solutions you've been seeking are going to arrive. They're going to relieve you of the stress associated with whatever the problems are you experienced, even though you were in a pretty good place with the nuts and bolts of your material well-being. And that's what leads you into the current card, the 8 of cards, where you got the stress associated with it. You got to move away from it. It's no longer serving its purpose for you. And in the past, there were new challenges waiting for you to dispel your feelings of dissatisfaction with where you are. Remember, the woman, it says she's in a good place physically. She's in this beautiful garden, but it's a garden with walls. And even a walled garden can become a prison, is the idea here. So what was incumbent upon you is to knock down the walled garden and move out and find out where it is you're really supposed to be. Because there's new challenges coming. There's new things, and that leads you again right into the 8 of Cups card, where you're moving away from that which is not satisfying, that which is not good for you. There's challenges to be met. And so the 9 of coins stands for wealth, financial security. It could mean reward for all of the efforts in your business life or your project life. The presence of the card might mean financial and personal independence for you. It's a very positive card, but it's also one that says beware of the success that puts you in a position where you've got yourself walled in. You've got to move out. You've got to expand beyond something. And so that's what this card represented in your past. And perhaps even the wealth and the prosperity this card speaks of, be it physical or metaphoric, is the thing that comes because you have grown dissatisfied with the situation you're in, and you need to find a way to move away from that. And that's where you are with your current card, the 8 of Cups. And now, once again, you got the World card. That's your outcome. This is where you're going. This is where it's leading you. This is a card from the Major Arcana, and it's a card that pretty much just means the world's your oyster. You've got success at the journey's end. People are going to see how you cope with this situation, what you do with it. Might be a really big thing in your life. It might be a smaller thing in your life, but it's something that it's going to, whatever this decision is, it's going to take you through a transformation, through motion, through change, through a move of some sort, either, once again, physical or emotional and mental. It's going to move you from one place to another. And at that point, it's going to put you in the situation of the world being at your feet, having learned, you becoming the teacher, so to speak. So there you go. You're in the midst of something right now, Chase. And that something is saying, you've come from something that maybe wasn't so bad. You maybe were in a good place, but it might be the thing that either comes by dealing with the things that you have to walk away from, or you need to walk away from those. And so that ends up in the world, that puts you in the world, in charge of your life. It's like, you're the one. It's at your feet. World's your oyster. But you've got to leave the things that no longer serve themselves for you. All right? So I hope that works. I hope that means something to you and that it's useful. All right. Let me take a sip of coffee. It's good. I almost want a smoke break, but that'd take me 10 minutes. I'm not going to go do that. So that's just what I feel like, Not that I need to smoke anymore. I like to have a smoke a few times a day. But sometimes you just, and I rarely get cravings. I get the craving to go, now it's the time. Now I need to go step out and have a smoke for a while. So I'll do that when we're done here. So yeah, you're on the move, Chase, says Carmen. That's perfect. So let's see. Let's move on. Iowa X, nice to see you, buddy, by the way. A nice big dip would do you. Yeah. Oh, no. If you're talking dip between my cheek and my gum, I don't do that. I don't like that. I don't care if somebody wants to do it. If it's your thing, I don't like stuff in my mouth like that. I can't chew gum because I don't like it. I don't like always having a wad of something in my mouth. I got to spit it out. Tobacco, not my thing. I'll smoke a pipe or I'll smoke a cigarette, smoke an occasional cigar, but that's it. So stuffed waffles would do. I want stuffed waffles in my mouth. So, all right, here we go. Let's move on to Joyce Marie. If you're in the room, Joyce, let's get your reading going. I'm going to start shuffling for you. Joyce Marie. All right, here we go. And after Joyce Marie, we have Teresa Danton. All right, that's the second one. One more time for Joyce Marie, and then we'll draw your cards. All right, there you are, Joyce. Now we'll cut this deck. If you were here, I'd have you do it. Puts a little bit of your energy into the cards, into the reading. And there we go. Let's see what we got. Ready, Joyce? Here we are. All right. Your first card is the King of Wands, if I can hold on to it. King of Wands. Now, this is a royal face card, and the royal face cards, queens generally stand for women in your sphere of influence, kings for men in your sphere of influence, people you're going to know and recognize, or the card represents you in an archetype of that king or queen, whether you're male or female, that's brought into your energy, into your influence. So that is your first card. Your second card is the Eight of Coins. All right. And that's your recent past. Ooh. And your near future is going to be the Knight of Wands right here. Which is a card of movement and travel, by the way. All right. King of Wands. That's your first card. Now, wands is that suit of your emotions. I say it all the time. Wands is emotion. If you look at the red on this deck, the red in every one of the wands cards, there's something red, a curtain, and that's this particular deck. Curtain, a tablecloth, a piece of clothing, something. And the red is supposed to signify fire, exuberance, zeal, lust for life, excitement, creativity. That zeal of a youthful, creative energy is what that stands for. And so the king could represent a specific person who represents new creative things for you. This is new ideas, um, things that you've incorporated in the past are now going to open up new opportunities for you in the present. The ideas have given you momentum that inspire and encourages other people. It's success that you're going to gain, and you'll gain help promoting your ideas. There's going to be this increasing inspiration to help others around you at the same time. And it could be somebody is there that's helping you get there, a male figure. It's going to be like, I don't know, a husband, a brother, a dad, an uncle, maybe even a grown son, somebody, a boss, somebody that's out there that's going to help you, or you're taking on these things for yourself. This role is who you are. You're the king of wands. And the future of your success in your professional life is indicated by this card. It's good investment, and not just investment of money, but prudent investment of your time, your efforts, your spending. All of these things wrapped in, they outweigh the risks that you take. And so the strong conviction you have is going to show that you've shown is going to grant you good outcomes and good opportunities. The King of Wands is a voracious, determined, confident authority figure. He's the king. It's good to be king, and he represents some sort of expansion, this establishment of something in his professional life or financial gain along with success. He's a positive presence. He brings along positive outcomes. So again, this is somebody external to you, a male figure who you're going to look to, that's going to help and lend aid and help put you where you need to be, or it's you doing it for yourself. Many times when I see these, it's usually I want to focus on you, the person. That it's you exhibiting these qualities, because we've all got them. And if we all are just in the habit of, or building the habit of being there, being in the moment, being in the now, being aware and awake, you're that king. You're the one who brings that exuberant zeal of youthful energy and enthusiasm. And it's creativity, by the way. The wands represent this creative energy. And so it's something that's saying you're moving into a new realm that's kind of the fulfillment of things, and you're going to be seen for doing this. You're going to be in a position that's going to allow you to do that for others eventually. And you got the eight of coins. This is the card of your recent past. This is the card that says you've had to go back to the workshop, so to speak. And if you look at him, he's got his tools hanging on the wall. And in some of the decks, there's a window, and you see the castle way out on the hill. And the idea is that you're looking to strive to get to somewhere better, and that better comes because you've kind of had to go back to the workshop to figure what the hell it is you want to do, where you want to go to improve your skills. And it's talking about all the skills that you've already mastered are going to lead to your success. And now it's time to start expanding those things, to continue development. And you're going to reach this moment of epiphany, or this moment of recognition, where you're moved into that. And so by developing your talents, you're going to find success in your efforts. You're going to be investing yourself, and it's going to lead to greater rewards. And the future holds a lot of success, a successful career, a successful spiritual endeavor, personal project endeavors, The amount of acclaim that you receive is going to depend on the amount of time you have to spend or that you've spent determining and mastering your skills. So it's in the past now. This is the card of your recent past. You may still be there because it's what's brought you into the King of Wands, is that it's a card that's saying an improvement of your skills, the honing in a finer way of all your skills and studiousness. These are the things that bring you the desirable career, acquiring new skills just ahead, as long as you use discretion and you take a balanced approach to what you're doing. It's very positive. And that puts you in the king position, which is your current, making things happen. And of course, then that puts you into the Knight of Wands as your near future. And the Knight of Wands, remember I've said, if you've heard other readings I've done, I always talk about how the knights are all in movement, except for one of them. They're all on horseback in the older decks. These guys aren't on horseback here, but they always are they do show the horses in every one of them. There's a little statuette of a horse. The idea is always in motion. The only one that's not moving is the Knight of Coins, because he's plotting his work, making his plan before he goes forward. The Knight of Wands represents the emotions that you bring to the table in the movement, and this is the idea of change, maybe even in your curiosities, in your intuitions. You're going to see things changing. The conflicts you faced at work have influenced the outcome of the events around you. It's a spontaneous decision that's going to lead you to make a long journey. The Knight of Wands is that emotional drive, where I said the one knight who's sitting still, someone who's kind of sitting on horseback, ready to make his move, but he's overlooking the field, and he's not going to make a move till he has everything planned. The Knight of Wands is the one that spurs himself on with emotion. Yeah, let's go, is kind of the thing. And so he's the one that's making the quick movement. It doesn't mean it's an uneducated move or one that involves his intuition, but it's something he might do solely as a result of intuition. It's time to, I got that feeling, let's go. And it's movement. It's a spontaneous decision that's going to lead you to make a long journey, maybe even a permanent relocation somewhere. I'd like to do that. I just have to say as an aside, I've got the juices are flowing. I'd love to make some nice big move and go somewhere different and do something different and do things. I'm longing for the adventure. I've been pent up for too long. Now, that's the kind of feeling that's going on with this. You've got the skills that you've been improving. You're the King of Wands in your situation in the current. Now's the time where you can go, boom, I'm moving. I'm doing the thing. And this is where I've got to throw in the thing that I mention almost every week, is my mantra, the old Mark Twain quote. 20 years from now, Joyce, you're going to regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast away from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. Life is meant to be lived. And sometimes we try to live it so carefully that we miss the opportunities. Sometimes you just got to set out. You got to do. Don't be stupid or dumb. You got to make measured decisions. But this is all about ambitious, energetic, determined leadership. And there's going to be challenges associated with this card, with doing this kind of thing. But you have to embrace them as something that's positive to come. And the changes are unpredictable. You don't know where it's all going to end up, but you have to believe in yourself. Have courage to do what it is. Don't make a hasty decision, but you can make a spontaneous decision. I think there's a difference between spontaneous and haste. Haste is really an uneducated decision to change things. Spontaneous might be I'm making a snap decision based on all my ducks are in a row and let's go. Let's do this. And it could lead you to really happy, fulfilling times in your life. So that's what you're moving into. Be that king of wands. Be the king who's taken measure. You've been the guy in the shop, the 8 of coins. You've honed your skills. Now's the time. Move is the idea. And you just say right here, you're pondering now with intention. That's the way to do it. There's nothing wrong with making good moves as long as you know what you're doing. And it says you're in the place to do it. You've honed the skills. You're the king. You've got this great energy working for you, creative, new energy. So use that and make the move. Maybe the move is just simply, I don't know, not to belittle it, but maybe you're going to, I'm going to now convert the garage into a new office or studio or workspace, and I'm going to move everything from a job or from my basement into my garage. I'm expanding. Maybe that's the move. It's a big move because it requires work. Maybe it's a huge move. I'm going to relocate my family to Australia or to, Florida or whatever, because you're going to make some big move. And it's going to affect you and everything you do. But it's based on the fact that you are the king and you can make this decision because you've honed your skills to get there and there's great new energy. So there it is. And if it's not, Neil was saying it's not your male persona, it's an actual person. That's possible. It could be that this person exists out there because remember I said the royal face cards, the kings and queens, represent usually somebody we're going to recognize that's a real person in our sphere of influence. Or it can represent that the archetypical energy of that person manifesting in you. Meaning, you can be a woman and manifest a king. You can be a guy and manifest the qualities of a queen. So many times the royal face cards represent somebody in the outside that makes the offer, that helps along. And also just as many times it can represent energy from within. You are that king that is making this happen for you. Appropriate it and make it so. So there you go. Hope that helps. Hope it was good. Means something. All right. We got Teresa Danton. I don't know if that's how you say it. Danton or something like that. So it's good to be the king, Matt. It's good to be king. So let's see. So if you're still in the room, Teresa, I'm pretty sure you are. Let's start shuffling up for you. And then let's go. Let's make it happen. There you go. Dantonio. It sounds so Zorro-ish. I am Diego del Vega D'Antonio. I am Zorro. Although yours might be Italian, not Mexican. So, all right. There's number 2. One more time. You're welcome, Joyce. Thank you. By the way, folks, this might be a good time to say I do full readings. We're doing 3-card readings here. I do 5-card and 10-card full Celtic cross spread readings that are going to give you a lot more detail. If you'd like to get one, go over to my website, scottallenroberts.com. Click on the Tarot link, and you're going to see a couple of PayPal buttons there. You can get the 5-card or the 10-card, respectively, for $45 and $85. And they take roughly 45 minutes on the one, hour to an hour and 15 minutes on the other. And we spend a lot of time in great detail. And or you can just do it really simply. If you go to my YouTube page here, go to the main header, and down in the lower right-hand corner, of my page, there's going to be a little donate button. You can donate 45 or 85. I'll know exactly what those denominations mean. And it'll leave your name and your address and contact information. And we'll get you on the schedule, get you all scheduled up. So there you go. All right, Teresa, we got the cards shuffled for you. If you were here, I'd have you cut the deck. And so I'll lay this out for you. Boom, boom, boom. Sometimes I can't even pick them up off the surface of my desk. All right. Here we go. You ready, Teresa? Here we are. Your first card, the card of your current situation, is the Ace of Coins. Now, the aces in this deck, the woman who put this deck together, Cat Black, she uses all angels to represent the aces. They're all, what were angels? They were messengers of God. They were bringing divine messages to you. And this is the Ace of Coins, so it has to do with the nuts and bolts of your life. You got the Knight of Wands, which we just had in the last reading, as your recent past. A little change of pace. And then you got a Knight of Cups in your near future. Now, with the presence of two knights, the knights indicate, as we've said, motion and movement. So this is a little mini reading here that's indicating to me that there's movement going on. If you got movement in the past, movement in the future, then you got this angelic ace of coins right in the smack in the middle of the two in your current. That's very meaningful. And so let's take a look first at the ace of coins. This is, or pentacles. If you looked at the old decks, it's pentacles. And this ace, this is something that says, now, Teresa, this is your current. This is where you are right now in your present. And it could be a big thing. It could be a small thing. Meaning it's either an incident in your life that you need to look at here, or it's encompassing everything about your life right now. And your time has come, is the idea. It's been well spent. You're going to eventually achieve the things that you're setting out to do, that you've been working on for so long. The success that you want to have in something. This could mean financially. It could mean relationally. It could be project work. It doesn't have to necessarily be employment and a job, but it is in the coins. So it does have to do with material well-being. And so the things that you've invested yourself in are starting to pay off, is the idea. And it's this kind of, this card speaks to reassuring news. It's going to help you realize that you're on the appropriate path to receive the recognition, the rewards you deserve, the payoff for the time put in and the investment, and you're destined to make a great gain with this, is the idea. Whether it's financial or emotional or personal, and there are spiritual blessings that await for you in it. And this card all by itself, as a standalone, represents prosperity, financial gain, successful endeavors that end in promotion. It brings good luck, brings emotional stability. It's highly suggestive of a very possible positive future outcome, being able to attain your goals. Now, this is in your current status, but it's like, as I say with all these angels, they're also before an open door. They're saying, there's the open door. You can take this, you can move, but I can't push you or pull you across the threshold. All I can do is show you the open door. It's there. And that's what this angel is saying. This ability to grab this success and this fulfillment of things is all because of what you've brought to the table. And the angel's just showing you the door. There it is. Sometimes we don't know the door's there, and so we miss it. And so these are great, wonderful new things. It's all about prosperity, financial gain, success at the things we engage ourselves in. And so because of that, those things, you've got this new energy that's coming your way. Now, this is the card of your past, your recent past. It's the Knight of Wands. Now, Wands has to do with the emotions. And the knights, again, are these moving characters. And this is something that says the root of all your recent desires for change is your curiosity and your intuition. And it even goes so far to talk about conflicts that you've faced at work with your peers. They've influenced things a bit and the outcome of the events around you. And so this is all about a spontaneous decision to make a movement. You remember the last reading we did for Joyce. This card was in her near future. It was saying there's this spontaneous decision to make a move, to make something change. But don't be hasty about it. It's something that you have to, plan and be careful, and then you make the move. It's all about this ambitious, energetic, uh, determined leadership that you impose on your own life. And while there's challenges that are associated with it, embracing the challenges is what you're all about. And the card is about movement, fast movement, swift movement. But this is in your recent past. So it's something that's telling me either you're in the midst of change right now, or you've already made some change. And these are the things that are kind of hurtling you into that ace of coins, which is saying the things you're doing, open door. There it is. Take it. There's going to be some prosperity. There's going to be reward, either physical or intangible, metaphoric, those things that keep propelling you forward. If you make this move, if you do this, if you go through that door. And the angel is just saying, hey, the time is great. It's representing wonderful energy for this in your current. And all of that pushes you to the Knight of Cups, which is in your near future. Now, the Knight of Cups can stand for relationship, can stand for romance, can stand for all those neat, nifty things about love. And so when you see the Knight, excuse me, choked on my own spit. How's that for a happy thought? This is the idea that you got more movement, because the Knights are all movement. They're transitional cards. This is saying that your strengths have been your intellectual capacity, your self-determined willpower to do something, to make life go. And this is the idea of being slightly caught off guard by the changes, by new directions, by ideas of others. And that might not be natural to your unique perspective on things. Being caught off guard, because you like to be in control of things. This is all about an important offer, an invitation that's going to arrive a bit unexpectedly, suddenly. Now, this is in your near future. So you've had change that's being screamed in your recent past, that's putting you in the position for transition, for new things, great, wonderful things, great message, angelic type message coming to the open door. But this is saying in the near future, it could arrive so suddenly that you're not expecting it to arrive when it does. And this is all about staying focused, staying true to your most passionate beliefs. And that's going to lead to progress towards your goals. And you're going to find this peace in this deep, meaningful connections you're going to make with other people because of this. And so the Knight of Cups is romantic. He's a compassionate dreamer. In some decks, one of the decks I used, I think it was the Golden Tarot, he's dressed in his finery and he's on this white steed, and he's got the golden helmet with the white wings on them. And it's all about being this amazing persona, but to be careful that it's not just transitory, that it's not a false front, but that it's something real, that it's your passionate beliefs that progress you forward to your goals. And this is new opportunities. It brings new opportunities. It brings some sort of positive invitation in your near future. So this is self-acceptance. It's an arrival. It's to find the proper path for your life. And it's a very positive card that you're going into. It's like a yes answer card. But make sure that the things being offered to you are solid, they're true, they're real, they're not mirage, they're not fake. There's not the fake visage on the top and really something else underneath. And you do that by having honed your skills to get where you want to be, to having the transition put on your plate. So what I see here, Teresa, is you're in the midst of an open door. You already know that there's some transition that's coming, or you've already been in the midst of transition, and it's leading you into something that's just going to suddenly be there. It's here now. That's the next step here. That's the step out from this. So a real movement of some kind. So you've got two knights in this mini reading, which are both cards that speak of transition and movement, and changing of things. And you got the ace of coins right smack in the middle of it in your current. So there you go. So I don't know exactly what's going on in your life. This looks like you're in store for some change. You have to be true to yourself in this. And I don't mean that as a cliche. Be true to yourself. No, that's not what I mean. It's all about, again, stuff we've been talking about during the week. Again, being awake, being aware, being in the now, knowing exactly where you want to be in the now and making things happen around you to make that a walk through that open door. That's you making that step forward. So lots of transition. I'd be very curious to know how this plays out for you, because this is pretty blatantly out there that you're going through some major change. Now, the change might not be physical. It might be metaphoric. It might be spiritual. It might be emotional. But it's something that says change is on top of you right now. So anyway, Bernard asks, can I call in by phone? I don't have a setup to take phone calls here. I have to have a totally different program loaded onto this system to be able to do that. So sorry about that, Bernard. You can ask some questions here, but I can't do much over the phone. If you wanted to do if you're talking about doing a reading, I like to conduct, if you purchase a reading from me, I like to do those readings. I always use like Skype, either Skype or Facebook video chat, so you can see me just like this, and I can see you if you want to be seen. That way I can hold up the cards and show you what's going on. So there you go, Teresa. Hope that was meaningful. Hope it meant something. All right, folks. We've been on for almost 2 hours, and I think I'm going to wrap it right now. Let me draw one card, a card that you can all take with you, a card for the day. And when I pull it up off the top of the deck, look what we get. Death. Death. Now, as we've talked about in the past, death doesn't mean literal death. The death card is all about accepting the fact that there is change that is on top of you. And it's so dramatic change, a final change. It represents the closing, the complete closing of a chapter, ending something, and something new is coming. Now, I don't want to apply this collectively, even though I said let's draw a card for the day, because we may not all have things that we're going through that look like this. But if I were to draw this as a card for today, something's coming to an end. There's a new chapter about to be written. Don't get stuck in the old. The message of this card, it's like if you're into paranormal investigation, ghost hunting, if you will, researching, looking into that stuff, you know that sometimes it seems that the spirits we encounter are those that have refused to move on or are being held back for some reason. And they're stuck in the middle and they can't move on to the new life, the thing that's new and beyond this life. Because death is just merely a doorway to another life. And so they're hanging on or being held back, and they aren't experiencing the new. And that's where so many of us are. in life. We have the death to the old and the new chapter ready to be written, entering into the new life. But we sit in the middle, stuck, because we don't know how to move or transition from one to the other. And so maybe this is just the realization that all things come to an end, all things are born anew. And so there's new chapters. If you're facing, any of you who've had movement shown in the cards today, different things going on, these are giving you the ability to realize that change is on top of you. And that change not accepted is change that stagnates and stagnates you. And so move forward. Roger says, I felt that, bro. And so, yeah, the age of Pisces is over, says Rapid. Now, moving our way into the age of Aquarius. And so things are changing in general. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit this week on the radio show. So, Rapid, it's getting better every day, Teresa. And so there you go, folks. Take that with you. Hopefully it's helpful. Hey, I want to thank you all for being here. Sunday morning is my time to rant a little bit, which I did most of the morning. We were talking about, and it's just stream of consciousness for me. It's ADHD talking at its best, one topic to the next. Then we eventually get to the cards. So I want to thank you for being here. Remember, every night this week, Monday through Friday, it is the Intrepid Radio program right here on my YouTube stream at Mr. Scotty Roberts, or over on the Odyssey Radio for just the audio, ODYSY1. And I'm at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Left Coast Time. And so you can catch that show. And you can always come back to the YouTube channel and get them in archive. They're also archived on iTunes. They're archived on Spreaker. They're archived on Podbean, I think. And there's several different places through Odyssey where you can find the audio stream archived as well. So if you missed a show, come on in, check it out. Hey, Jeannie, nice to see you. We're just getting ready to sign off. I hope you didn't just get here. So thank you to everybody for being here. Susie, you're welcome. Thank you all. And we will see you tomorrow night. Have a fun day. It's 11 a.m. on Sunday Central Time, 9 a.m. out on the West Coast, noon, and you still got the whole day ahead of you. So have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, or good day. Bye.